Hey guys, welcome to another Evening Spark. This time, we're talking about gentleness in our 10-part movie series, or not movie series, but video series on the characteristics of God's teachers. So far, we've rocked truth, started with truth, moved on to honesty, went forward with tolerance, and now we're at part 4, gentleness. One thing with all these is that, like I was talking with the last one, there's a certain sort of contrast that when you don't do these things, when you're intolerant, when you're dishonest, when you're untrusting, when you're ungentle, when you're harsh and crass, that's what causes relationships to be destroyed. Like what we learn with tolerance, judgment destroys honesty and shatters trust. And I think that for me, came to a head with me. I was now one thing people don't think that because I'm here preaching to you or I'm here speaking God's word that I've got this perfect track record. By no measure of that. I mean, shoot, just today I lost my shit with somebody, and yeah, it brought home a lot of great truth that I feel I'm very grateful for. But it was a hard lesson to be learned. That the true travesty wasn't the acts of each of us, but it was the fact that I allowed myself not to be gentle. That I fell into that sense of anger and harm. Now, I didn't attack the person physically, mind you, but there was anger behind my voice. And it wasn't right. So to that end, I learned, it was brought painfully clear the necessity of gentleness. And I have to honestly say, in conjunction with these characteristics of God, I have to honestly say that, gentleness, through what I'm telling you, genuinely does help. I'm not just some guy preaching you a bunch of stuff that doesn't really work, but I know it sounds good to hear. Like, legitimately, the truth of gentleness, that harm is impossible to God's teachers. That they can neither harm nor be harmed, because you do what you do unto yourself. Because harm, at the end of the day, is the outcome of judgment. Because if you think about it, a dishonest act follows a dishonest thought. And as we remember with judgment is dishonesty because it is assuming a function that you do not have. And so our judgment puts a verdict of guilt upon our brother, and therefore on ourselves. By it becomes the end of peace, and also the denial of learning. Like when you're in that state of wanting to do harm to others, you obliterate your function from your awareness. And this is something that really should be at the focal point of your thinking, as far as the guiding lotus star, as they say, for how you decide to make decisions and how you decide to act. Because here's the thing, when you get into that state of harmfulness, you will become confused, fearful, angry, and suspicious. And you feel it. You feel all this guilt, this inner turmoil. There's those times where it feels like both people are wrong, are at fault, and it just feels like a blah situation, and you don't know where to go because you feel like there's wrong on your end and there's also wrong on their end, and no one's talking. And you're trying to figure out a way to get out of it, and it just seems like there's no way, because you're fighting in that turmoil that, okay, they need to correct their thinking, and so, and I, it's, and we constantly struggle with that sense of, well, what about me? Why, I should get some restitution. One thing to remember always is that you control the one half of the relationship. So even if the other person is acting a fool, you can still be that loving person. Because really, you know, as a teacher of God, we are, I would say, commanded to be, we are instructed to be wholly gentle. See, there is a strength in gentleness. Because here's the thing, like, just getting on like even a biological scale, like a physiological scale, dynamic. In the when you if you are really tense and you try running, you waste a lot of energy. But if you can be really relaxed, you aren't fighting against your body's mechanics. I've learned that. I'm learning to try to train more gently, like with my body. And your joints also. I mean, if you're pounding on the ground when you run, you are really damaging your body, you're hurting yourself, and you're wasting a lot of energy. Whereas when you can be quick, I hear some people running that's so loud, and then you get me, and I can run even faster. And this isn't to be braggadocious, but I'm able to run even faster and not make a sound. And I probably weigh more than them. I mean, it depends on the person. But some people are big and they're pounding and everything. But that's not the point. The point is there's that fluidity of grace, that sense of gentleness, and that's how we should also, in a greater respect, that's how we should approach our relationships with one another. I think one thing in regards to when you deal with perhaps the negativity of people and it gets really frustrating at times and wears you down, one thing to remember in helping us recognize the need for gentleness, the strength of gentleness, is that it's really important for us to not believe the lie that person is about, or that they have been deceived into believing. Because when we condemn, I got it on the wall, and when I say magic thoughts, it's the illusion of the ego that you have somehow been separated from the love of God. So if a magic thought arouses anger in any form, God's teacher can be sure that he is strengthening his own belief in sin and has condemned himself. And also, it is your first responsibility to not attack magic thoughts. Because, see, this is the thing. You're pretty much saying, one, I'm not impressed by this situation. You have not take that word, impressed. You have not put an impression on me. Because there's a tendency when we do believe the lie, we're like, oh God, it's so horrible. And we feel like we need to rush into this person's room, fix it all up, and we make a whole mess of things. And there's a good intention of saying you see this trouble and you want to help them. But you have to also have the faith and confidence that, one, God is going to take care of them. This is something that I got to reiterate within myself. And I wish I could have done sooner. But I'm telling this to you people now, my brethren, my friends, so that you don't fall into the same vices that I may have. That's what it's all about, helping each other rise higher than where we were before. So you gotta have faith that they are going to be taken care of, and that what they may be complaining about, whining about, one, it doesn't define them, doesn't define the situation. If they're going about it with anger, they're obviously not discerning the truth of the situation. Nor are you when you respond with anger towards their frustration. Sometimes you gotta rouse the dormant mind, and in extreme circumstances where you kind of gotta be like, hey, stop, but then you quickly go back. But that prolonged kind of wrath and harm, it doesn't do anybody any good. I mean, why would you want to join them in hell when you can help guide them upward to heaven? Be empathetic, be sympathetic, mind you. Throw them a rope, but don't fall into the pit with them. You don't do them any good. It's like in battle. You want to save your friend out there who might have been shot and injured, but if you go out there and get hurt as well, you're just as much of a liability as they are now. Now you are hurt, and what good came of it? So it's one of those things where there's a certain distance you keep, not in an apathetic, you gotta come to me kind of thing, but it's kind of a reading of the room. First off, when they want help, they'll ask for it. That's one of those things you got to be willing to, and until that point, there's a lot of inaudible prayers that you may need to do to allow your thought to be corrected. Beyond, no matter if it's audible or inaudible, your correction of thought, your right perceiving thought is necessary because, that's what's going to help guide the situation. With all of these, with gentleness, tolerance, honesty, truth, joy, all the other ones moving forward, is that these are the characteristics that where doing the inverse will destroy the relationships that we have and isolate and deprive us and give us a sense of deprivation. Following these characteristics of God's teachers will be what helps heal the relationships. Even if they may have seemed to be totally severed, they block you on Facebook, or they don't ever want to talk to you again. Nothing is ever truly set in stone, necessarily. We may think it is, and maybe the person that you had that altercation with, maybe you guys don't talk to each other anymore. But you can be sure that if you keep on going in that way that caused the discrepancy before, it's going to keep ruining the relationships that you have moving forward. But if you allow the gentleness of God's love to replace that hatred and fear and anger in your heart, it'll allow the relationships to rise higher than they were before. And what's more is you'll be able to be at peace with that person who it may have caught, where you guys may have had that falling out. And who knows? You very well may find that person again. But that when you do, you'll be able to see them not as enemies, but as brothers. For that is truly the strength of God. And that's the strength of gentleness. Okay, I will end it there. Been going on for a minute, as you know how it be. When we get that spirit up in here. But I surely wish you joy, and I wish that the gentleness, the strength of gentleness, be on all of you. So go forward and let's try applying this today. Let's see what we can do. I surely believe that it will help your relationships. That before you choose anger or wrath, let mercy and gentleness be the guiding force. Let that be what you choose. Okay. See you, friends. Peace.